Good morning, this is the Kelso Report for Monday, March 12th, and I'm your host, Clark Kelso. We have two cases for this morning left over from Friday, the first dealing with qualified immunity, and the second case dealing with CEQA standing. So let's begin with our Ninth Circuit case involving qualified immunity. Two Nevada Gaming Control Board agents arrested the plaintiff for refusing to return an overpayment to a Las Vegas casino. The overpayment was clear because he received more money from a gaming table on one wager than would be possible given the betting limit at that table. And the overpayment was videotaped. When he was confronted by casino officials, the plaintiff refused to return the overpayment, became rude and belligerent, and left. The casino then reported the matter to the Gaming Control Board. Two agents from the board spoke with the plaintiff on the phone, but he kept refusing to return the overpayment unless he could see the videotape himself. And they decided, given his attitude, he probably had committed a felony theft by not returning the overpayment and wasn't going to return it anytime soon. Well, the plaintiff subsequently walked into the control board's offices, where he immediately was arrested. He subsequently returned the overpayment and then filed a Section 1983 action against the agents, alleging they had no probable cause to believe that he was not going to return the overpayment. The district court denied the agent's motion for summary judgment, concluding that while the officers might have had a reasonable belief, a jury could also just as reasonably conclude the plaintiff lacked the requisite mens rea for the crime. In other words, the jury could determine he probably was going to return the overpayment. Well, in Connor v. Hyman and Neal, the Ninth Circuit reversed, holding that the district court erred by focusing on what a reasonable jury might conclude, instead of on the question of whether the officers held a reasonable belief that they had probable cause. From that perspective, there was no dispute about the fact that the officers believed they had probable cause. And the Ninth Circuit held that belief was not contrary to any clearly established constitutional rights, which is the standard for qualified immunity. The Ninth Circuit reversed and ordered the case to be dismissed. Next, we have a case involving the topic of CEQA standing. An irrigation district maintained a program of groundwater recharge using a network of canals and recharge basins. The city of Selma approved a 160-unit, 44-acre development project in the area that converted agricultural land to residential and urban property. As part of its approval, the city issued a mitigated negative declaration for the project, essentially asserting that the project had no significant environmental impacts. Well, the irrigation district disagreed and they sued, asserting that the project had environmental impacts and the city should be required to undertake an environmental impact study. The city challenged the district's standing to sue, among other things, asserting that the district could have standing only if the city's project directly affected a natural resource under the district's jurisdiction. According to the city, since this particular project did not affect any irrigation resources under the district's jurisdiction, the district should have no jurisdiction. Well, the Superior Court disagreed, granted the district standing, and ultimately concluded the city's mitigated negative declaration was insufficient. The city appealed. The only issue worthy of publication really was the standing question, and the 5th District held in Consolidated Irrigation District versus City of Selma that the city's proposed rule on standing was too narrow. The appellate court agreed with the Superior Court that the district had standing because it was clear the irrigation district's long-term interests included potential impacts upon its network of canals and recharge basins used to implement the district's groundwater recharge program. A program which could be affected by continued conversion of agricultural land into residential and urban land. That interest was sufficient. So the 5th District affirmed the standing holding and also affirmed the rest of the Superior Court's judgment, rejecting the city's mitigated negative declaration. So the city will have to now take that next step and begin its environmental impact studies. That's it for today's Kelso Report. Have a great day in the law.